It's great to see you all. What a great crowd. You're so beautiful. Look at all these pretty people. And it's a nice night, too. So thanks for being here on such a beautiful night, coming indoors. And we're here to celebrate 4 of our faculty readers who are teaching in this space and who I love having around. And whose work is wonderful. So you're in for a treat. Excuse me, I forgot to bring my water up here. I used to do this work by myself for a long time, like maybe 20 years. I did it by myself in my living room or in rented spaces. And, it was fine, but it was a hustle and it wasn't always that much fun doing it alone. And then, people started coming in, and thank you, David, asking if they could be part of it and if they could share their skills and teach. And that was really exciting because what I really wanted was community. And over the years, as we've had, more instructors come and they've brought people with them, the community has grown, and it's just been such a pleasure to share this work with everybody and to come together and do what we love and celebrate the written word and hear each other's voices. So I always read an inspiring quote because I feel like as writers, our work is really effing hard. We sit in a room, we stare at a screen, we tear at our hair, and it's like, why do we do this? And it's really important to come together on a regular basis, I think, and celebrate what we do and celebrate the work that we're all engaged in. I know a lot of you here are also doing this work. So I wanted to just start with a quote from Dani Shapiro in her book, Still Writing. I just really love this. It's a little bit long. It's like a paragraph, so bear with me. Still writing, they ask. I usually nod and smile, then quickly change the subject. But here's what I'd like to put down my fork and say. Yes, I am. I will write until the day I die or until I'm robbed of my capacity to reason. Even if my fingers were to clench and wither, even if I were to grow deaf or blind, even if I were unable to move a muscle in my body save for the blink of an eye, I would still find a way to write. Writing saved my life. Writing has been my window, flung wide open to this magnificent, chaotic existence, my way of interpreting everything within my grasp. Writing has extended that grasp by pushing me beyond comfort, beyond safety, past my self-perceived limits. It has softened my heart and hardened my intellect. It has been a privilege. It has whipped my ass. It has burned into me a valuable clarity. It has made me think about suffering and randomness, goodwill, luck, memory, responsibility, kindness on a daily basis, whether I like it or not. It has insisted that I grow up, that I evolve. It has pushed me to get better, to be better. It's my disease and my cure. It has allowed me not only to withstand the losses in my life, but to alter those losses, to chip away at my own bewilderment until I find the pattern in it. Once in a great while, I look up at the sky and I think that if my father were alive, maybe he would be proud of me. That if my mother were alive, I might have come up with the words to make her understand that I am changing what I can. I am reaching a hand out to the dead and to the living and the not yet born. So yes, I'm still writing. So we have 4 faculty readers tonight. I'll come up and introduce each one. 2 fiction writers, 1 memoirist, and a poet, so a lot of variety. We're going to start with my beloved assistant director and friend, Emily Lackey, who saves my ass on a weekly basis, and whose writing is just an inspiration all the time to me. She's in my manuscript group this year, and it's been such a pleasure. Emily's a graduate of Middlebury College and the Breedlove School of English. She received her MFA from the University of New Hampshire in 2014. She's been a fellow at the Virginia Center for the Creative Arts, an artist in residence at the Bemis Center for Contemporary Arts, and a resident at Noonan Art Res. Her stories and essays have been published in Glimmer Train, Prairie Schooner, Post Road, Romper, The Rumpus, Long Reads, and Literary Hub, among others. She lives and writes here in Northampton, and she teaches writing workshops here. at Writers in Progress. This fall, she's going to be leading 3 workshops: Writing from Life, which is on a great generative group on Mondays and Wednesday nights, The Art and Craft of the Short Story, which is a monthly group, and a 1-day writing retreat here in this studio on Saturday the 14th. Do you still have space in that?
There was a last-minute cancellation.
Oh, somebody will grab it. Welcome, Emily.
Hi. So nice to be here. It's so nice to be reading with this wonderful group, too, who are genuinely all my very dear friends. I feel very honored to be here reading. I'm working on a novel. I've been working on a novel for years. And I'm vacillating back and forth between 2 beginnings. So I asked my husband tonight, should I read the beginning with porn or the beginning without porn? And he said with porn. So you guys can either thank him or blame him, depending on how you feel about porn. All right, here we go. Erin was sitting on the kitchen floor, her back straight against the fern-colored cabinet. Sean was standing next to her, leaning his weight against the counter in the apartment that they had been renting for the past year. They were both exhausted. Erin had spent half of the night trying to convince Sean to tell her what it was he was hiding from her. She was still in her pajamas, her hair tangled from where she had been twisting it between her fingers. She wanted to know, she told him. She needed to know. When it came to her relationship with Sean, Erin had tried her best to follow the rules, the kind of rules women in their 30s adhered to in order to get everything they've been told to want: love, happiness, marriage, and at least 2 kids. Don't sleep with a man on the first date. Don't be difficult. Be easy to be with. Learn to compromise. She was 34 years old. She had been born at a time when divorce rates were at their highest, and she had come to believe that if she was very careful, if she did the opposite of what her mother had done, she would be saved from her same fate. The opposite had meant spending the last decade of her life with Sean, reassuring herself that nothing good ever came easy. Sitting on the wood floor of their apartment, Erin watched the early morning light inch its way toward her. Above her, Sean had dressed for a day of work at the bank. His khakis and button-down looked exhausted, too, tired from their night of fighting. Sean came from a family of lawyers and had gone to law school himself, so he was good at arguing. But he had also spent the last 4 years studying for and failing to take the bar exam. What he wasn't good at was seeing a thing through. Erin could tell from the look of him that he was sick of defending himself. He looked ready to give up and go. It was May in Massachusetts. If something was going to change, they had picked the right season. What Sean and Erin had been fighting about all night was why he kept his computer locked. It had been password protected throughout their relationship, and in the beginning, it didn't bother Erin. She figured he kept his computer locked for security purposes. But slowly, over time, the things that he kept from her accumulated, mainly a chewing tobacco habit he hid from her for months at a time. I don't care that you have been using tobacco, she reassured him every time she found another can of Spearmint Skoal in the laundry. What I care about is that you lied. What she cared about was how much he seemed to be repeatedly capable of keeping things from her, immune to the shame and guilt that would keep most people honest. What was wrong with him, she thought, every time she discovered another thing he was keeping from her. It felt compulsive, pathological. If he was so comfortable lying to her about something like chewing tobacco, then what else would he feel comfortable keeping from her? Why, for instance, did he keep his computer password protected? Why had he created a separate account for her to log into instead of just letting her use his? This argument was their hit record. It was their most requested song. But this time, something stopped the usual chorus from repeating. The night before, Sean had admitted why he didn't want Erin to use his computer. I don't want you to see the kind of porn I watch, he said. They had been sitting side by side in their bed, their faces washed, their teeth brushed, both of them ready for a good night's sleep. But after he said that, Erin couldn't let it go. Now she had to know what kind of porn was on Sean's computer. Now he had to tell her. If he didn't, she would assume the worst, and the worst was not something she was willing to live with. Daphne. At some point in the middle of the night, she typed types of porn into her phone and pulled up a Wikipedia page that listed them in alphabetical order by genre. Alt porn, animal porn, bondage porn, bukkake porn, child porn, ethnic porn, feminist porn, gonzo porn, incest porn, LGBT porn, MILF porn, reality porn, softcore porn. She held it out for him to see. Is it any of these? He looked at it and looked away. I have the right to a private inner life, he said. Until that night, Erin would have agreed. She had listened to enough sex-positive podcasts in her life to know that what people fantasize about is not necessarily what they want in real life. In fact, these things are usually in wild contrast to each other. She may need to fantasize about two men fucking her at the same time in order to orgasm, but that didn't mean she actually wanted to experience it. The idea of actually being alone with two sexually aroused men was terrifying to her. No, thank you. Before that moment, she may have believed what Sean was saying, but now she couldn't be sure if the man she loved was looking at child porn, so she only believed one thing, that his right to a private life was out the fucking window. Just tell me, she said from the floor, please. She was staring at a spot on the ground where someone or something years ago had made a divot, the wood caving under the weight of a chair leg or shoe heel. Fine, he said. Erin froze. She felt like an anthropologist finally coming across a tribe she had spent the last decade studying. The last thing she wanted to do was make the wrong move and send him running. It's going to change everything, Sean said. Erin took a shallow breath. Okay, she said. Tell me. You can't judge me, he said. I won't judge you, she said, her voice as soft and understanding as she was capable of making it. When in our relationship have I ever judged you? She thought of the emails he had sent in the early days of their dating, the ones where he spelled definitely with an A and always mixed up your and your. She had been judging him from the beginning, covering everything he did wrong with her hope that one day he would change and that one day they would be happy. Not that she was going to bring that up now. He didn't say anything for a minute. He took a deep breath. His hands were behind him, tucked between the counter and his back. Tucking their hands beneath each other's bodies had been something they did throughout their relationship. For years, they had been each other's human squeeze machines, pushing their hands or their feet beneath the other when they needed to feel comforted or when they couldn't sleep. He leaned forward and crossed his arms in front of his chest. Fine, he said. I don't want you to see what's on my computer because they're pictures of your friends.
I'm like, can you please just keep reading for a few more minutes? Just a few. We have more time now that Anna's not. Wow. Is that your new opening? I love that. Wow. Okay, Kathy, you didn't give me a separate sheet, right? Okay. Kathy Luna is next. She's been teaching memoir with us for a while now, and her class is such a hit. It fills up very fast, and I hear rave reviews all the time. So it doesn't surprise me because she's a fabulous writer and is working on a memoir herself. She's a PhD and has published excerpts from Missing Lessons, her memoir in progress, in Lunch Ticket, Consequence, and the River Teeth Journal. A former faculty member at UMass, Kathy has taught writing for more than 30 years. Since 2010, she's been a writing consultant and also a writing coach for the 5 college faculty writers. And she teaches an ongoing weekly workshop here on Wednesday mornings called Crafting Your Memoir, which is wonderful. And I hope to see your book out there sometime very soon, Kathy. We're all going to be waiting for it.
Oh, Emily. I don't think I can follow that. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. Hi. I am going to read a little excerpt from my memoir that's a bit jagged. I'm trying to put together some pieces. I hope it works. I think Dory mentioned the name. It's called Missing Lessons. It's about the experience of growing up with a dad who was missing in action in over Laos when I was 6. Did you go to Corpus, my father writes, in an October 1968 letter to my grandmother. How did Kathy like her watch? Daddy, it gleams in my memory, real or not, the birthday watch you sent when I turned 6. Mickey Mouse grins under glass, his round black ears at 12 and 11, his fat red shoes at 7 and 5. The strap, white patent leather, hangs loose around my bird-thin wrist. I use my teeth to pull it tight. I twist the tiny silver knob and press my watch against my ear. Tick, tick, tick. It's Mickey's heart. I smile. Silly, my mommy says. It's only gears. Mommy's new friend Al wants to show me how to read it. No, thank you, sir, I tell him. You can teach me, Daddy, when you come home from the war. The last time I see my father is in January 1969, 3 months after my birthday, when he's home on leave. He visits us at the trailer park in Corpus. I can't remember much about that visit, no matter how much I want to, no matter how hard I try. Here are 3 things I might remember. 1, my father brings my sisters and me each a doll from Thailand. The dolls pose mid-dance, pointed toes glued to a black plastic base, a metal rod through their backs. I wish my doll could move. I want to like it. I say I like it, but I don't. 2, I forget to ask my father how to tell time with my birthday watch, or maybe I don't forget. Maybe I'm shy of him because he's been gone so long, and because he and my mother sit in the living room stiff as my new doll, not talking. 3, I have a hand-me-down Schwinn with no training wheels. In the last minutes before he leaves, my father lopes beside me, finally loose and laughing, one big hand beside mine on a handlebar, the other steadying the seat. Together we fly around the flat, sandy circle of trailer park streets. But when my father drops his hands, I fall. I try again and fall again, and then my father has to go. For years, for decades, I will reach for the moment when the telegram came, scrabble for it in the dark recesses of memory. I must have been inside our trailer. Or I would have seen the dark sedan make its slow way down Stingray Street. I must have been inside, or I would have felt the world stop spinning. Maybe I was busy building silly sandcastles with my sisters, kneeling on the counter beside the pink bathroom sink at one end of our trailer, face squinched in concentration, fingertips gritty with blue sand, cool, hard marble under my knees. I wholly inhabit my little girl body, perhaps for the very last time. Maybe I notice a sandy blue tear about to drip from my right wrist onto the watch I wear on my left. I imagine I'm torn. I only ever take it off in the bathtub or at the pool or at the beach. But silly sand is sticky. I hold my arm out toward my big sister, Anne. Take this off, would ya? I say. Anne sighs, but bends over and pushes the little peg backward. She sets my watch on the seashell-shaped soap holder stuck to the wall. In this memory, I only vaguely notice when Anne leaves, barely register the sucking sound of the fridge opening and closing as she hunts for a snack. The air conditioning hums, but even with the windows shut, I hear somebody's radio playing staticky songs. If I can hear a radio playing outside, why don't I hear the car door slam? Why don't I hear the base commander and the chaplain's voices? Why don't I pay attention? Anxious to put the past behind her, my mother moves fast when my father goes missing. 3 months after the telegram comes and a week after she finishes nursing school, my mother drives us from Texas to Norwich, Vermont. Earlier that spring, on a trip to Vermont to meet Al's family, my mother had taken Al's dare, walked into Mary Hitchcock Hospital, and got a job on the spot. She came back, picked the three of us up from our grandmother's in Brownsville, and told us to start packing. I remember two things from that long drive to Vermont. One, my mother has wrapped small toys, silly putty jacks, a plastic troll, and we get to take turns opening one every time we cross the state line. And two, we are already hours and hours and states away from Corpus when I remember the watch I've left behind. I can picture its white leather band curled around Mickey's silent smile in the shell-shaped soap dish. I cry, but it's too late to turn around.
Thank you, Kathy. So sad. I love that story. Our next reader is a poet, Diana Whitney, who just joined our faculty recently and is teaching a workshop this fall on writing about grief called What the Living Do, Channeling Grief into Writing. Diana writes across genres with a focus on, I'm reading the wrong one. You gave me one. Sorry. Same thing. Writes across genres in Vermont with the focus on feminism, motherhood, and sexuality. She's the author of 2 poetry collections and the editor of the best-selling anthology, You Don't Have to Be Everything, Poems for Girls Becoming Themselves. I need to read that. Winner of the 2022 Claudia Lewis Award. Her new book, Dark Beds, was released by June Rhodes Press and named a finalist for the Poetry Society of Virginia's 2024 North American Book Award. Diana's work has also appeared in the New York Times, Glamour, the Kenyon Review, Electric Literature, and many more. She was the longtime poetry critic for the San Francisco Chronicle, where she featured women and LGBTQ plus voices in her column, an advocate for survivors of sexual violence in her hometown and beyond. She works as a freelance editor and writing coach, and she's currently also teaching writing at the Putney School. So welcome, Diana.
Thanks so much, Dory. It's so great to be here and be welcomed into this community. And wow, what amazing readings we've already had. So I'm going to read 5 poems. Sometimes it's good with poems just to know that it's finite. I'm going to bookend with some poems from my book, Dark Beds, and then because it's always great to read new work, I'm going to read a couple poems from the manuscript that I'm currently sending out called Girl Trouble. So the first poem is called The Long Goodbye, which is another word for, or a kind of a shortcut for Alzheimer's disease. And my mom died a year ago in September, so I like to kind of invite her into the room with us. Her name was Jude. So let me find The Long Goodbye. My man returns with a canvas bag of salmon, fresh lettuce, green leaves tipped with red, ripped into the maple bowl, and the fat rose fillet laid out and rubbed with oil. He wants to talk about transference, and I want to talk about weather, how April snow falls and the flowers survive, the daffodils fold up and shiver through the storm. If there's a lesson here in patience, I don't want to hear it. At my mother's house, all the rugs are gone, so the wheelchair won't catch. Her bare floors are cleaner than they've ever been. No more pets or children, no more clutter. The strange peace of living without language or memory, the house ticking as she nods in the recliner, parting her lips for the spoon of ice cream. Her legs are 2 sticks, crooked in loose leggings. And my girls shoot up to 5.5 feet. And my man sears the salmon, feeds the skin to the dog, serves the pink steaks with salad in the humming mess of our kitchen. How can you savor what you have when it demands so much attention? Ticks are clinging with 2 legs to the grasses, sensing heat and carbon dioxide. They can feel us coming and seek out our skin. They love the warm places, armpits and groins, the crevice behind an ear. Run your fingers everywhere. Danger is the size of a sesame seed, a single brain cell, smaller. If I could, I'd make my mother walk and talk again. But what do I know of magic or redemption? Only the long goodbye. How tired we are of doing our best. I'm going to read another poem from Dark Beds. Torched. All the garish flowers opened in midsummer, tiger lilies yawning on the road, bordello blooms climbing over each other, bee balm, plume poppy, bronzy red and gold. I dragged the couch onto the summer porch in another careless gesture toward desire. You were the one who lit the torch with pollen, diesel, and meadow fire, cooled it with blackberries dripping juice, water pulled from an alpine spring. The cat unfurled herself on the car roof like a black velvet ribbon of longing. The hay lay knit and spun in torrid rows, falling in a blonde mess to the shoulders of the field. You coasted slow as syrup down the edge of my daydream, engine purring, windows down, rusty truck of trouble come back around. So I wish I'd known what Emily was going to read, because I actually have a sonnet about feminist porn in my new manuscript, which I'm sending out. It's not been accepted by any literary journals, but I would have brought it. But instead, I'm going to read 2 poems, and just, I guess a little bit of a content warning. The girl troubles about girls, raising girls, and excavating female adolescence and rape culture. So, take care of yourselves. And if you need to take a break, please do. Watching Thelma and Louise during lockdown with my daughters. Do they get caught, C asks, wanting to know the end from the beginning? Do they make it to Mexico? Do they go to jail? Do they get shot by cops in cruisers and choppers? Just wait, I say. I've already messed up. I forgot the scene in the parking lot, the predator at the honky-tonk bar slapping Thelma in the face, shoving her belly down on the hood of his truck, the click of his belt unbuckling. It was 1991. I hadn't been raped yet. I kept the thrill of the open road, Brad Pitt strutting in cowboy jeans, Louise fierce and bold in her gritty bandana, blowing up an 18-wheeler. Now that was power, I thought back then. Do they make it? C asks again. She says the women are stupid. They should switch cars, hop a train, stop calling home to Arkansas. She is sure she could survive if given the chance. A is quiet. Oh, I know, she breathes softly as they near the Grand Canyon. At the end, the green car floats above the earth. Tears trace my cheeks, and I take the girls' hands. Thelma and Louise are holding hands too. This is the only way, I try to explain. They have no choice, not in this world. It's the movies, after all. The Thunderbirds suspended forever in Arizona sky, a magic feminist ride to the afterlife, while we're stuck here on the ground, on the couch, in the house, where it's dark, dark, dark all around, the future pressed hard against the windows. So I'm going to read one more from Girl Trouble. And it was hard to decide, but I think I'm gonna end with an ode, and then I'll do one last short one from Dark Beds. So, Ode to Susan, X-ray technician. I hoofed up 2 flights of hospital stairs, and you were there, tall and brisk in navy scrubs, beckoning me to my changing room. You handed me a blue gown softened by years of industrial washes and a wet wipe packet for my pits to remove all traces of deodorant. Such are the mysteries of mammography, and you were my high priestess. Like an acolyte, I followed you, tied the baggy gown meekly in front, offered up my body. You knew I didn't want to be there on a hot summer day. No woman wants to be there, pressed between the gray plates of the machine. Still, you handled my flesh with the utmost care, positioned my rib cage flush to the tray, lifted my breast with such practical gentleness, I forgot I was filled with dread. Your hand on my shoulder, arranging my arm, relaxing the muscles to the right position, reminded me somehow of my nursing babies. Pure attention, free from appraisal. Those years when my breasts were the center of the world. Hold your breath, you said. I know it hurts, you said. But it wasn't so bad, not like childbirth or the crucible of PMS. We joked about these trials, and you told me stories of the hot flashes to come. At 61, you were still flashing, having bled straight through your 50s. And I loved you then for this revelation, the infinite variations on female change, laughing as I waited half naked in the chamber, posed for the X-ray whir. The machine hummed like a spaceship console, with you standing steady at the helm, gray eyes smiling above your mask. I would have traveled with you anywhere then, to the Andromeda galaxy, to Jupiter's moons, to a parallel universe where time runs backwards and all the captains are women. So I'm going to finish with, this is the last poem in Dark Buds. This book has some cross currents, both marriage, domesticity, infidelity, betrayal, and then of course the grief and loss, the parallel slipping away of my mother. And this is where the speaker in the book comes to at the end. So thank you so much. This is called Current. Years passed. I grew too old for danger. No more playing the nymph in the summer forest. No more thrill of secret trysts and haiku. Every flower and seed imbued with meaning. Milkweed floating across the valley, aloft on thermals of longing. Goldenrod keeled over in rain, a gesture of surrender. Transgression was once the most interesting thing about me. Now I see we were tediously ordinary, lacking even the courage to destroy our lives. I feel nothing now, except pinpricks of curiosity, the warmth and heft of household bonds. The goddess you mistook me for has vanished, morning fog lifting to reveal the river, indifferent current rolling south to merge with a colder tide. Thank you so much.
That was so beautiful. I forgot that I was supposed to come back up here. Seriously. I was like, oh, wow. I can't wait to read your books, Diana. Thank you. All right, last but not least is Megan Tatey. She is the author of the book Super Bloom, which is fabulous. And Diana and Megan both have books out on the table if you want to buy one. And she also has a book forthcoming in December. That's right around the corner, called Bluebird Day. Both billed as comedic fiction, and she's very funny. She's actually teaching a workshop on humor here. Do you remember the date? October? Oh, I have it. October 19th, a morning workshop called Delivering the Laughs. So anyways, Author Stephen Rowley, winner of the Thurber Prize for American Humor, called her debut novel wickedly funny, while bestseller Jenny Lawson said it was absolutely delightful. Her writing has appeared in the Huffington Post, Ms. Magazine, Women's Day, and Reader's Digest, among others. She runs the freelance writing and editing company Wordlit, and she lives in Western Mass with her family. Welcome, Megan.
I am so nervous. It is so weird to be a writer who's alone in your room all day and then get up here and do this. So if I black out, you catch me on this side, and you have to catch me on this side. I know. So my next novel is called Bluebird Day, and it's about two alpine ski racing champions, a mother and a daughter, and the mother's name is Claudine, the daughter's name is Wiley, and they've been estranged for many years. The daughter quit the sport to go to art school, and it caused their estrangement. And now they are in a Swiss village, and an avalanche has socked in their town, and they are stuck there together, and the only place to stay is a youth hostel with bunk beds. So I am plunking us into the middle of a chapter where my character, Wiley, she's making a collage in a window seat, and she is very upset that this avalanche is sort of sticking them there. And she's also about to encounter one of the hostel guests there named Calvin, who sort of stole her heart because he is an a cappella singer in this group called Sings to Excess. And they serenaded the whole hostel, and she was just like, oh my God, you're the sexiest man alive when you sing. So I'll just go ahead and start. And her boyfriend's not there. He's back at home. His name is Dan, and he tore his Achilles tendon, and he is stuck at home. So also, I have to take off my glasses now to read. I don't know what's happening to me, but that's the way it is. Okay. Another shadow falls over her. She looks up expecting Leia, but instead it's Calvin, aka the sexiest man alive. Now just a normal dude clutching a paperback book. Wiley's lips, pegged in a concentrated straight line, tug up to a smile. He gestures to the other end of the window seat. Will I bother you if I sit? Not at all. Let me just... She scoops up the mess of magazine clippings, inches her feet back to make room, and Calvin plops down, one knee up, the other leg dangling over the side of the seat, facing her. A nervousness glides into Wiley's belly, a figure skater on ice, twirling, whirling. Her cheeks flush. It looks like a scone, he says. I'm sorry? He nods toward the Matterhorn outside the window. Doesn't it look like a powdered sugar scone? Makes me hungry just looking at it. She squints at the mountain. Then again, he says, I'm always thinking of pastries. He pats his rounded middle. My tombstone will read, he lived for baked goods. Not, here lies a man who can carry a tune? No, pastries trump singing for me any day. I had planned to eat my way through this town, trying every bakery. Now I might have to settle for that sliced bread in the dining room, which I'm not a hater of sliced bread. 2 pieces of white bread, ham, and a little mustard, that might be the perfect meal. Wiley's mind momentarily flashes to Dan, calculating calories of the categories of food he deems evil, marking a massive X over anything with a crumb structure, outlawing basic ingredients, flour, sugar, butter. If she were here with Dan, they'd only eat yogurt and fruit for breakfast. Before she can stop herself, she blurts, I want to do that too. He laughs, lines forming on the outside of his mouth like extra long dimples. Which part? The bakery part. I want to eat at all the bakeries in Zermatt. His gaze sweeps to the quiet street outside, every resident and every tourist shuttered indoors. It's a date, he says, if we can ever leave this hostel. The word date sends a shockwave through Wiley. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to give the wrong impression. She slips her fingers over the end of her braid. I have a boyfriend back at home. Calvin fans the pages of his book, floundering a little. Well, I didn't mean not like a formal date or anything, just an expression of speech, like it's a date on my calendar and I will meet you there, but not like as a date. Okay, she wants to bite on her braid to stop herself from grinning stupidly. We'll just go eat a pastry as friends when we get out of here. Eating pastries with the sexiest man alive is definitely not allowed. She's breaking all sorts of rules. Cool, he says. Cool, she says. All right, well, I'm just going to let you read. He holds up the book. I'll leave you to it. He signals to her collage. Cool, she repeats, wanting to smack herself on the forehead for playing it decidedly uncool. He opens his book, diverting his attention to the first page, and Wiley ducks her head down, staring at the magazine in her lap. How in the world can she concentrate? Hey, do you by any chance want to play a board game? He asks. Oh, thank God. Yes. Calvin tosses the book onto the table, jumps up, strides to the bookshelf, rifles through the options, and carries back a box split on all four corners. He holds it up. Trouble? I haven't played that game in years. They choose their colors, and he gestures for her to go first, so she presses down on the Pop-O-Matic, which gives a hugely satisfying pop, tumbling the die in its dome like a popcorn kernel in a Jiffy Pop stovetop pan. Lucky 6, the number that releases pegs from home to the playing track. She moves her yellow peg. Pop, Calvin, blue rolls a 2. No can do. Wiley, a 3, her peg inches forward. Calvin, 1. 6 for Wiley, setting free another peg. So you're an artist? Pop, 5 for Calvin. He's stuck in purgatory. Oh, sort of. I work for a museum. Doing what? I'm an assistant exhibition manager. I help hang and create the art exhibitions. Well, what brought you to Zermatt? My mom and I. How to explain the entire situation in a single dose, an easily swallowable capsule, without going into her grandfather and her mom's skiing legacy and her almost skiing legacy and Dan, whom she really doesn't want to talk about. We're competing in this fitness competition in Berlin, and we just stopped here on the way for fun. Whoa, Calvin protracts his neck, surprised. Pop, 1. Poor guy. That's an amazing thing to do with your mom. 6, she's cruising. Yeah, I guess it is. Now that he mentions it, Claudine's really showing up, isn't she? Even beyond the competition. She hasn't made any condescending remarks about her art career, didn't pepper her with more questions about Dan when it was clear Wiley did not want to talk about him, and helped her through that panic attack. And the way she'd been so protective over Wiley when she thought the avalanche was a danger. It's touching. And how has Wiley mostly responded? With cold shoulders and silence, little jabs about Claudine's competitive nature. A competitive nature, by the way, that yielded 5 gold medals. So maybe her mom wasn't chill. How many champions are chill? She'll do better, Wiley tells herself. Cut Claudine some slack. So did your singing bring you to Zermatt, she asks. Well, I have a million more questions about this fitness thing, he says. But yes, Sings to Excess is a professional a cappella group. We're on a European tour. Now I have a million questions. How long have you been with the group? Let's see, I graduated college 3 years ago, so since then, but this is my last year. This fall, I'll be teaching music at a school on the North Shore of Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts too, the Berkshires. What are the odds? His eyes shimmer. She feels hot under his gaze, heat threading up her neck. It's, your turn. Pop, 2. It's really not his day. Nearby, an Australian couple peer out another window, having an under-the-breath but heated argument. Wiley was having such a nice time she almost forgot about the avalanche, but now it hits her again. They're stuck. When do you think we'll get out of here? Oh, am I missing a page? Let me just finish this and then I'll look. She asked, popping with less vigor. All 4 of her pegs are in play. I have no idea. Maybe it'll be faster than they think. That's what I'm hoping. If we can't leave soon, we'll miss the competition. She mindlessly twists the end of her braid. Oh, that's awful. I'm sorry. His voice sounds genuinely remorseful. Thanks. The good news is that we're not in any danger here, he says, and we're not stuck for life. 2 days, 5 days, a week, at some point we'll all go home. Home. That word doesn't stir comfort in Wiley the way it should, doesn't conjure a safe harbor, a place to rest her weary head. She opens and then closes her mouth before she divulges more than she should to a man she's just met. Outside, there's a grenade-like boom. What, Calvin asks, was that? Controlled avalanches, I'm guessing, Wiley says, remembering this familiar sound. The snow patrol's setting off avalanches on purpose with explosives. It's sort of like opening up a dam to avoid a flood. It's a good thing. Pop, 4. Calvin tosses his hands up. I surrender. Want to go see what they have for snacks? She picks up a peg, studying it. I should really work out. A few rounds of jumping jacks at the very least. Is that how you like to spend your afternoons? Okay, hold on 1 second. Where's my last page? Here. Like to? Not at all. Have to? Yeah, sorta. Wiley smiles as if she's joking. I have an idea, he says. He curls his lips in and bops them together, his eyes full of mischief. Follow me. 20 minutes later, Calvin and his singing mates have pushed all the dining room chairs and tables against the windows, clearing a space the size of a racquetball court. Wiley's in the front, leading an impromptu exercise class, rolling her shoulders as a warm-up, with 20 other guests following along. For the first time in 2 years, Wiley finds herself grinning during a workout, laughing as they sidestep their way through the electric slide, half the class going the wrong way, bonking into one another. She's enlivened by the joy and moving her body just for the sheer pleasure of it. Watching the sexiest man alive sing his heart out, his golden eyes occasionally meeting hers, that doesn't hurt her mood either. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. We have to wait till December to find out what happens? That's so cruel. Do we get like a clue or? No. All right. Well, thank you all so much, and thank you for being such a great audience. I'm super proud of my instructors here, and I know some of them have a couple spots left in their workshops, so just ask one of us if you're interested, and there's some books out on the table. And please eat the food that's all sitting there waiting for you. So thanks everybody for coming.